The 2025 season has been a wild ride so far, and no one knows that better than reigning Cup Series champion Joey Logano. The Team Penske driver has had a roller coaster start to his title defense, with moments of brilliance overshadowed by frustrating setbacks. Let's take a closer look at Logano's season so far and what's ahead for the No. 22 team. Joey Logano entered the 2025 season with high expectations. After all, he's a three-time Cup Series champion and one of the most consistent performers in the sport. But so far, things haven't gone according to plan. From crashes to penalties, Logano's season has been a mix of highs and lows. And he's not shy about sharing his frustrations. Frustrating is the one word that comes to mind, Logano said when reflecting on the start of his title defense. I think I've left the racetrack every single weekend mad at something, which is... that's part of racing sometimes. Let's break it down. The season started with the Daytona 500, where Logano led 43 laps and looked like a contender for the win. But a late race incident with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ended his day early, leaving him with a disappointing finish. At Atlanta, Logano led 34 laps but faded late, finishing 12th. Then came COTA, where Logano was in contention for a top 10 finish before Todd Gilliland punted him, relegating him to 24th place. But perhaps the most frustrating moment came at Phoenix. Logano started on the front row and led 33 laps, but an early restart violation derailed his entire day. It's just something has happened every race so far, Logano said. That part is frustrating because it feels like you're not taking full advantage of the opportunities ahead of you. You've had race cars and you really haven't been able to convert, but that's also sometimes just how racing goes. You have to learn from your lessons and keep going. Despite the setbacks, Logano has plenty to be proud of. His 207 laps led this season are the most of any driver, and he's currently tied for 7th in the point standings thanks to strong stage performances. You've also got to move on quickly and look at what you've done well, Logano said. As a team, we've done great at leading laps. We've been towards the front, and we've scored a lot of stage points, so even though the finishes aren't there, we've been able to run up front enough to stay in contention. This weekend, Logano has a golden opportunity to turn things around. He's starting on the outside of the front row in second place, and he's no stranger to success at this track. With 4 wins here, the most of any active driver, Logano knows what it takes to get to victory lane. And after the challenges he's faced this season, you can bet he's hungry for a win. Another driver that raised a serious problem lately is Kyle Busch. The 2025 season is already heating up, and this week Kyle Busch has sparked a major conversation about NASCAR's approval process for drivers. The 2-time Cup Series champion has never been one to shy away from speaking his mind, and this time he's taking aim at how NASCAR decides which drivers are allowed to compete at the sport's highest level. Let's break down Busch comments and what they could mean for the future of NASCAR. Kyle Busch has always been one of NASCAR's most outspoken drivers, and this week, he's raising important questions about the sport's approval process. Specifically, Busch is questioning whether drivers with limited stock car experience, like Helio Castroneves and Katherine Legge, should be allowed to compete in the Cup Series regardless of their impressive resumes in other forms of racing. During a media availability session, Busch didn't hold back. I feel like I've questioned the approval process for a long time, Busch said. Being an owner in the Truck Series and seeing some young drivers get opportunities at different tracks versus my drivers who were getting denied, I was very confused. And honestly, I'm even more confused now on how it all works. I think it's broken. Busch's frustration stems from what he sees as inconsistencies in how NASCAR approves drivers for certain races. For example, Helio Castroneves, a 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner, was allowed to compete in the Daytona 500 earlier this year despite having 0 NASCAR starts. Similarly, Katherine Legge, a seasoned sports car racer, was approved to race at Phoenix despite not having competed on an oval in the National Series since 2018. Both drivers failed to finish their respective races, leading Busch and others to question whether the approval process needs to be reevaluated. He also took issue with who gets to make these decisions. I also do feel as though it shouldn't be suit and ties making the decisions always, Busch said. Certainly, there can be some executives that need to be involved, but I do feel like there needs to be fire suits involved in some of those decision-making processes. Busch comments highlight a growing debate within the sport. Should NASCAR executives be the sole decision makers when it comes to driver approvals, or should active drivers and team owners have a say? Busch believes the latter, arguing that those who are actually on the track have a better understanding of what it takes to compete at the highest level. The conversation doesn't end there. Busch also weighed in on the recent controversy surrounding Austin Cindric and his on-track incident with Ty Dillon at COTA. Cindric intentionally hooked Dillon's car, but unlike similar incidents in the past, Cindric wasn't suspended. NASCAR defended the decision, citing the specific nature of the incident, but Busch isn't convinced. "I don't think suit and ties should be making that call," Busch said. "I think you should get penalized by your peers." Busch's suggestion? A system where drivers themselves have a say in disciplining their peers. It's an intriguing idea, but one that would require a major shift in how NASCAR handles on-track incidents. Another issue Busch raised is the lack of testing opportunities for rookie drivers. With only a single brief practice session most weekends, newcomers often struggle to get up to speed. Busch pointed to Katherine Legge's situation as an example. "I don't know how much extra funds there are there with that situation to be able to go out to Phoenix a week early and go test," Busch said, "but that obviously would be beneficial to not only the team, but also the driver." Busch suggested that NASCAR could allow extended testing sessions for first-time drivers, giving them a chance to get comfortable with the car and the track before race day. If it's a 4-hour session on Thursday or Friday, or the day before or something, I think that could certainly be a waiver piece that is allowed for some first-timers, Busch said. For now, NASCAR hasn't announced any changes to its approval process or testing rules, but Busch's comments have certainly sparked a conversation, and he's not alone in calling for a recalibration of the system. Many in the garage agree that the current process could use some tweaking to ensure fairness and safety for all drivers. So what's next for Joey Logano and the No. 22 team? Can they overcome the early season setbacks and make a strong push for the playoffs? Or will the bad luck continue to haunt them? And what about the problem that Busch talked about? Should NASCAR involve active drivers in the approval process? Should rookies get more testing opportunities? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.